welcome everybody to In the Now. So you know what? This week is so much better. This week it is sunny. I told everyone last week, everyone was upset because of the snow and it was very depressing. Even I was under the weather, but you know what? We got through it. Toronto, we got through it. Look outside. It's warm. The snow is melting, which might mean flooding for some people, so be careful. Today, actually, the show, I've switched, you know me, within the now, things happen very much in the now. So I've switched things around a little bit. I was going to have my guest on the second part of the show, but you know what? He is a busy man, understandably, and I thought it would be in great efforts to make sure that he can come in, do what he needs to do, and run out of here. So I'm going to introduce him very quickly, and then I'm going to have him come down and sit with me. So learn some stuff about the councillor. We have the Honorable Councillor Martin Medeiros. Yes, Medeiros. Thank God. This picture is a compliment from The Guardian, and I believe they did an article on him. So Councillor Martin received an Honours Bachelor of Arts degree from York University and a Master's degree in International Affairs and Public Administration from the College of Europe in Belgium. I'm going to speak to him about that because I have some questions about Europe. How could that have been? The furthest I went was Windsor, Ontario, so it doesn't really count as leaving home, but I guess it does in a way. He's also very active in some sports, which we will talk about again. And we're going to talk about his thoughts on the community. Now, he's in a different position than many of us here and many of the viewers. He sees things from a different lens, and it's going to be really good to have an understanding, because sometimes we come down really hard on our politicians. We come down very hard on them because we don't understand what it is on that side. And it's easy for that to happen. So today, of course, we're going to make sure you understand what's happening, not in details, but how it kind of feels being on that side, having to kind of deal with the brunt of everyone's anger sometimes and problems. So I'm going to have the councillor come on in. Come and join me, find a seat, sit down, get comfortable.
Thank you very much.
Welcome, welcome. Did I take a good picture? Did I get a good picture of you? Did you like that one?
Oh.
Did I grab?
Yeah, I think that was good.
That's a good one, right? Okay, I thought I did all right. I thought I did all right. So welcome. So you know what? For a lot of the viewers, we serve a Caribbean, African community. So tell people, because we do have an East Indian community up here and an African community here in Brampton.
Yes,
so for those who don't know, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Sure.
And then we'll talk about within boundaries. We'll talk about certain things,
Yep.
kind of about you. I want them to get to know you. Sometimes people need to really know someone for them to have that type of impact on them. So tell us who you are.
Hey, thank you for the kind intro. So again, my name is Martin Medeiros. I'm the regional councillor for Wards 3 and 4. I was first elected in 2014. It would be a lie if I told you this is part of my life plan was to become a politician.
Right.
It just happened. I was born here in Brampton. My parents are Portuguese immigrants, and essentially I was on the mayor's youth council when I was 16 years old.
Okay.
And truth be told, I got on because I liked a girl at my school who was on it. And
That's so honest.
Following
That's very
and
honest.
I found myself really getting engaged and involved on some of the local community events in terms of park cleanups and all that thing. But that sort of interested me, I would say, in terms of civic duty and being involved in my community. And then as I went forth during university, I got really active in my Portuguese community. And as we're dealing with, as you said, African Caribbean community, during my time at York University, I did several courses on Latin American Caribbean studies, and I did some electives on Black history. And it's always been a sort of a passion of mine, and it's been something I've been. It's interesting when you get into politics and you have the opportunity to work on some of the interests that you have, such as equity and diversity and those issues. And it's been an honor. But essentially, after finishing university, as I have double nationality, I applied through the Portuguese Foreign Ministry, and I got accepted through the Foreign Ministry. And part of the training and opportunity was to do a master's in European Public Administration out in Europe, in Belgium, in Bruges.
Okay.
So I did that, and part of it is to prepare you to work for the European institutions in Brussels. So it's almost like the United Nations, but just for European countries. And
Okay.
I ended up working there for a couple of years in Brussels, and then after from there, that led to an opportunity to go work in Rome in Italy, and I got a chance to work in Rome. And again, I remember the job opportunities I had was either to go to London or to Rome, but as you talked about sports, I was a big soccer fan growing up, and the opportunity to go live in Rome and Italy, and so it wasn't probably based on professional experiences or professional ambition. It was more on I've always wanted to live in Rome, and so I go to Rome and I got to work for the United Nations. There was a fantastic opportunity, and then from there I went to go work in Portugal in the Portuguese government, and had a great opportunity there. And then after I came back, and I worked 11 years at the province as a civil servant. And I basically get in politics. Essentially, people came to me. I was involved in the Portuguese community somewhat, but people came to me and thought that I would be someone good to run. And if you remember previous councils, there were some scandals, some issues at the city, and I just felt that Brampton Council didn't represent the Brampton that I know, the way that I grew up. The diversity is still not there, and we're not there yet. And I'm hoping that next election that we'll get more people of different races, different colors, different diversity come in, because that's certainly what Brampton is. But our council doesn't represent that right now.
Yeah.
God bless that I was the first representative of Portuguese origin at the city of Brampton. I won by 100 votes on the last. They gave when they give that check mark, and they gave the check mark to my opponent, so I thought I had lost, and I gave my speech that I lost, and I was okay with it. I was generally, I gave it my try, and then I thought, okay, I'll go back to my life, which, being a father to beautiful children, I said that would be fine. And when they gave the results, it seemed like I won, and it was just on the last poll. So it was a crazy ride, and it seems it's been 4 years of a crazy ride, which I've had the opportunity to really champion certain causes and issues that I'm part of. And at the region, I was elected by my peers to be the chair of human services, which essentially deals with a lot of the social services that we provide, housing and integration of new Canadians, employment, and so a lot of the issues that deal with social services, and it's an area I'm really passionate about. And I just came here from a poverty roundtable. There's a poverty roundtable that meets every couple of months, and we talk about the issues. As we know, there's a growing inequality here in Peel, and it's something that we're tackling. So that's essentially who I am. Besides that, I'm passionate again I love watching my soccer on the weekend as a good Portuguese.
Who's your team?
Benfica. It's a team in Portugal. Unfortunately, they're not so big, but I'm very passionate about that, and I've really started to learn to like other sports and other communities. But one of the great things about my job, and hopefully it doesn't sound cliche, but it's just the people that you meet, the organizations that you meet. When I, from all different cultures, and yesterday I was with Punjabi seniors, and not too many of them speak English.
I creeped your Instagram. You're right.
Yeah.
Your picture, it's different. Every single picture is a group of different people. It's never consistent. So I agree with you on that.
And I enjoy it because I love culture. I love learning about people, and certainly I almost look at this as a vocation that, the job I'm here doing is essentially to empower, to help, and be a voice, especially for those who are not heard. And as we know in politics, sometimes is especially if you're not part of a larger community or a mainstream community. When I look at my parents were factory workers at Simmons Mattress for 40 odd years on Bremley and Steels, and when it came to summer jobs and those type of things, I never had the opportunities where I'd see some of my friends had those nice office jobs and so on. And I've done everything under the sun, as working in the chicken factory, working in my parents' factory, working in retail, and so I almost like had to hustle a little bit. And certainly when I have people come to me, and I always encourage people, get in my face if you need help, if you need some guidance.
Ask me anything.
That's right. That's right.
That's where I found it. I said, okay, I don't know. I know we're not going to have a lot of time, but I'm going to ask you something.
Please. So there's my spiel. And as you can see, I'm passionate about it. I love the job that I do, and I'm always learning. And I really take to heart sometimes when I can't get the job done or where I disappoint people. But it goes to sometimes part of what you were talking about being a politician. So, sometimes there is that knock, and rightfully so. But sometimes, to flip it is that people don't like hearing the truth as well. So a lot of people, for example, I get a lot of folks who, we have a bylaw in terms of driveways, or we have other bylaws, and they come into me. So they vote you because they think you're an honest and good person, and then after they come to you because they want you to see if you can help with breaking some of the bylaws. Can you give me help there? Can you do that? And when you say no, and
Honestly.
and you say honestly, then people don't like it. People get mad. Or if organizations come to you and say, how come we didn't get that much money, and other groups had more money, or can we do this? And the problem is you can't be everything to everybody, and that's what I try to. That's my sort of stance and at council, is that we have to unfortunately look at what are our priorities and what are we in the business of doing. City building, certainly. Cleaning your roads, and we had a bad example just a couple days ago, and we dropped the ball on that, and I was very critical of ourselves and as a corporation, and that was a learning, but certainly we can't be everything to everybody, and I try to be as transparent and as honest with people, and sometimes people don't like hearing the answer, but that's where we are.
So listen, when we come back, I'm gonna ask everything. We'll be back in a few minutes on In the Now.
One night going home, it was the night where I got promoted to becoming the sales leader of the team, and that was like the best day of my life. And I'm driving home at 3 a.m, and I fell asleep behind my wheel. It's cold, it's winter, it's December 22nd, right? Literally Christmas Eve, and I drive my car into a utility pole, a thick wooden one, and my car spun, it hit a fire hydrant, and then I landed on the edge of a hill going down into a parking lot. If I had a passenger, they would have been dead. And I woke up the next day, I went straight back to the office. I have a cast on my hand. I walk in, I'm like, I almost died last night and I'm still early. Don't be late.
Think you have what it takes to bring value to the community? The TCNTV network is expanding and now accepting TV show proposals. Here's an opportunity to build celebrity status and become part of an elite group of community advocates that are focused on building, strengthening, and empowering our community in a positive way. Are you interested in embarking on a new adventure? TCNTV is searching for people interested in opportunities to change the conversation and pave an unforgettable legacy. If you feel you have something of value to offer, send a written show proposal to shows@mytcntv.com.
I have the honor of having one of our counselors from Brampton here. Now, what I liked, and if you guys just missed it, it's funny, he's like, did I just say way too much? No. Honestly, and we're going to talk about this a little bit, because as much as you're here now, this road is not a road that was easily traveled, right? There is challenges that you had to face. And I kind of want you to, without going to, of course, too much detail, so we don't have time, but I do want you to share some of the visions that you had for yourself and what you had to go through when you, yes, being in Europe was great. I'm sure it was a lot of fun, but like how you were once an immigrant, how did that, you were an immigrant twice, I guess, in a way. like how does that feel? Because having immigrant parents, you still feel the brunt of what they go through. Right? So how was that for you? Share that.
Well, I think one of the things growing up as being part of the Portuguese community, certainly you live this, and I think all of us live with that hyphen. Basically, we're Canadians, but also we're from where our cultures are, and you know, there's a richness to it, but also there's some challenges and social expectations, and what you can do or not do, and the way you're disciplined, and you know, Johnny gets a nice talk to, where, you know, in Portuguese culture, you know,
and the West Indian culture,
you get a good stare down. Let's just say,
like, when you get home, wait.
That's right. It was a little bit of that, and so you know, you had to deal with that, and I was comfortable with that. But then after, it was interesting when I moved over to Europe, and again, you know, and this is not a sobbing story or anything, it's just that when you're in the most beautiful places, and you know, I've had some great experiences in my life, travel to beautiful cities, but especially when I was a student there, the social class, a lot of my colleagues, their parents were either ministers, judges, and they were very, you know, top professionals, and the school was quite elitist to a certain degree, and so at the beginning was a little bit daunting when they would tell me about their experiences for the summer. They would go to the Louvre in Paris, and they would go see the Mona Lisa.
I don't know where that is.
Yeah. And I'd be like, oh, where'd you go? I went to Alliston to do a barbecue at Earl Royal Park with my parents and El Dorado. And that was great. But then after, it just really, the whole social status and your socioeconomics, it really, hit hard. And then that's where I really became passionate about it. And I use it as an advantage after. I use it as something that drove me to a certain degree. And then after, it was interesting as, you move on and now being in politics and in 2014, and then we get into a big LRT debate in 2015. And it was interesting that some of the comments that came my way for people who opposed it. So the LRT debate, if you remember, was about bringing that the LRT light rail transit from Mississauga all the way downtown Brampton.
Okay, yes.
And there was that big debate, and unfortunately my motion lost by a vote because I felt it should have came downtown, and which I think majority of Bramptonians expected and wanted it to, but a group of councillors made a decision that they made. But some of the derogatory comments towards me at the time, because there was a lot of I guess you would say people expressing their views in favor of it, and some of the comments that I would be hearing, and even surprising maybe some from colleagues, is that so every Portuguese person they saw must be his family or must be his cousin.
Yeah, really ignorant.
Yeah, so it was
Really
some of that
ignorant.
stuff that you started facing, and then after, it almost, some of the ways people attacked you is almost, they made you feel that you weren't born in Brampton and you weren't as Bramptonian as they were. It's almost that the fact that they had third, fourth generation, which is it's special. But it doesn't make me less Bramptonian than them.
That's right.
And they were trying to paint me as such, and and I've always felt that in some ways, where especially when I'm so proud of my Portuguese heritage, but I'm so proud of culture and heritage in general, and what makes up Brampton. And it's not to me a cliche; it's really the way I live. My
Right.
friends come from different cultures. I grew up playing soccer, and the soccer team is almost democratic because you basically have the best of who they are from different cultures, and we play together, and we're a team, and we build that. And that's the way I was brought up. So when you get into sort of the professional experience, and it's really interesting, you see, and I see this amongst my colleagues, what sort of social networks they're tapped into. So, and some of them are tapped into that sort of the more traditional, you would say old Brampton type of community. And
You're so political with how you say it.
and
You're so political. You're
even
right there.
yeah, even sometimes the way they talk, or you can tell there's a different way of talking, right? You grew up, and I have a lot of Jamaican friends, Punjabi friends, Italian friends, and the way we talk, it's a little different, right? So you know how it is. It's and
Different conversation.
Yeah, and you feel that. So and that's some of the, I think, challenges that you had, I think, and as a counselor, the first year was trying to get over it, and was being surprised of some of that underlying, racism and discrimination, and not the sense of being, is that, I'm as proud Bramptonian as anyone else. And, and my parents, when they came here, they chose to live in this community, and they love this community. So to a certain degree, and you hear that expression, well, people who were born here, you don't choose where you live, right? You were born, and
That's
essentially
right.
our parents, immigrants, came here, and they chose to be here.
They chose.
And they
That's
chose
right.
to be here. And so that's been a little bit of that. But then as we move ahead, Brampton is no longer that. It's changing. It's ever evolving.
Yes.
But from a political perspective, and as, not to do a plug for the election, but I look
Plug
at the black,
away.
yeah, but I look at the black community, for example, the Caribbean community, and so on. It's been a challenge, for example, from my perspective, as I have a significant population in my area. How do you connect with them? I've gone to the places of worship. I've gone to groups like the Young Achievers and the Achievers group, and I meet them through seniors councils and so on and so on. But how do we engage with that community?
It's an interesting
And how do we
question.
bring those leaders and those people to be politically active? And I know there would be some candidates, and it's important. It's not just from the black community or other community groups. Same thing with the Muslim community. But our council doesn't reflect the people we serve. There's a
Right.
significant black community. So, it would be great to rally. And it's not necessarily has to be a member of the community, but issues that affect the community have to really be represented, and they have to be a voice. And so that's why, one of the things I've really tried to do at City Hall is engage with different community groups that have never done their events at City Hall to come to City Hall. Because it's not just there for the interested groups who've always had a special relationship with City Hall. It's for everybody.
That's right.
So when I had the Gujarati community, which is a province of India, they did their first flag raising last year. I had the Tamil community come in. We did a World Down Syndrome. We did an actual recent African descent community event, and so those are the type of events, because City Hall is there for everybody. It's
and a
not
lot of people
my
don't
place.
realize that.
No, they are
right?
timid. They go in. They should demand to go in and see whoever their counselor is, and express their views and seek the help they have. They have every right to provide their voice and even come to council and delegate. That's something that people are not comfortable. If you don't want to speak loud, send an email and delegate it. Let us know what's wrong or what we're doing. And but this is sometimes, so I understand that people's lives are busy, and it's really easy to become disillusional with politics. It's really easy. But if you're not in their face, if you're not in our face, letting us know what you need, what are some of the issues that you have, do you agree or disagree with something, we don't know. And usually, when it comes to voting too, I tell a story here, which is one of the biggest surprises when I got into politics, where I had some people who I thought at the time I wanted to be my campaign manager, and I decided not to go with them, because when I told them, I go, what makes up this community? What should I do? And one of the comments I heard was, well, you don't have to go to the, that has a lot of, that's a big black community, but they don't vote. So, you'll be wasting your time trying to go there. Try to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And that raises other questions. And that's why, for example, I'm an active member on the Diversity and Inclusion Committee that we have at the City of Brampton. But more so, I like trying to go out to different communities to sort of, put a little fire under their belly, to get involved, get engaged, know about some of these issues. LRT issues, not just simply transit, it's affordability as well. So sometimes some of the proponents who didn't want public transit coming down their downtown is because they didn't want to spoil that beautiful setting, which is a beautiful setting, but it should be shared by everybody. And having public transit go there, is not an issue that would spoil how beautiful it is. It actually only enrich it. And so I think people lost sight of that issue in itself was a socioeconomic issue as well, is because people who rely on transit are, folks in lower socioeconomic means. And that's why I'm hoping that people get involved and get engaged and express those views and those issues. So.
You know what? I want to thank you, because you raised a couple really good points. And can you let people know, because one thing I heard you say that I really hope everyone listening to is City Hall is yours, guys. You can speak to your counselors. You don't have to be afraid. You know what? Sometimes emails don't work. It is probably better if you just go, right? But if someone was trying to get in contact with you, where can they do this?
Yeah, they can call me at 905-874-2634. My email, again, is martin.medeiros@brampton.ca. So if you just put my name, Martin Medeiros, Google, it'll come up, brampton.ca. Yes. And I'm all over social media. So be it my Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, send me a message.
Crept all of them.
That's right. And again, it's really about expressing your views, and I don't need, and I speak on, me personally, but, I'm fine with colorful language. I'm fine with people telling me that, I'm doing a bad job, and I'm open to being more educated and getting their point of view. And I'm also good to sort of expressing to them and giving them some information why we do things and what we need to do. So, one of the examples I keep hearing, for example, is we have no cricket fields right now in Brampton. So a lot of the cricket teams have to go to Mississauga to play, and that's something that we need to hear more, because that gives me that power to say, listen, I've had 20 groups come to me. They want cricket.
They want cricket.
Yes, and let's start, instead of the traditional baseball fields, let's get some cricket fields going. So those are the type of things and where you can influence it. And I know people get disillusional, but if we don't express it, in October 22nd, go out and vote. If you don't vote, you don't count. So that's why it's so important that you vote and you express yourselves and ask people what they represent, look at their record, and support whoever you think the candidate is. If you want to volunteer, not volunteer, I know people's lives are busy, but be outspoken and be engaged, and if you can. And my perspective is I'm here to serve you, and I'm here to learn from you, and it's an honor to be able to do that. So.
Thank you. You're my very first counselor interview.
Hopefully not your last.
I was kind of nervous at first. I'm like, oh, this is okay. They're people.
No,
right?
Listen, I tell you, it's one of the things is this position doesn't belong to me. You're elected every 4 years, and the people decide who should be their voice there. So it's a privilege to be here, but I have this on loan, and I'm renting it right now, the position, and when I go back to a normal life, if they so choose, and I go back to still being passionate about these issues I'm engaged with. So
That is awesome. I want to thank you so much for taking just a moment to come in. We really appreciate it. Listen, everybody, you heard it. You know where to find him. Reach out, ask questions, ask him anything you want to. Okay? We'll see you guys soon on In the Now.
Are you retiring smart? Make your home's equity work for you. With your home's equity and our 30 years of experience, the Retire Smart Properties team can help you achieve the quality of life you've always wanted. Our services are 360 degrees. We'll give you advice, take care of staging and selling, and help you find the perfect home and community to transition to. It's time to enjoy the retirement lifestyle you deserve. Visit our website today to learn how you can use your home to retire comfortably. The Retire Smart Properties team, powered by RE/MAX West.
Great, and how's your experience been so far?
I'm loving it. This is my first year here, and I was so excited.
I've had so many people come, so much traffic. I'm absolutely tired.
Because of all the exposure that I got from this great event, I was able to grow and evolve and create my very own label.
It's been a fantastic event.
This is my second year.
This is a great and awesome event connecting to the community.
So yeah, we urge you to join. Here's a great turnout.
So for those of you who are not here this year and have business, make sure that you're here next year because it's only going to get better every year.
So I will be back next year. So thank you. This is so awesome.
So people who aren't here, what would you tell them?
You're missing out. Come out and have some fun.
No one wants to live outside the box. We play it safe. But if you had told me all those years ago that I'd go on to win Juno Awards and Much Music Awards, I would have laughed.
All right, stay with me. Here we go. Hands up! Reach for the sky. Come on. And hold your head up high for tonight. And every night you're what? Yes!
To be distinct, you must be different. So I'm going to tell you this. Love Inc.'s You're a Superstar went on to explode onto the Canadian dance scene. Not only was it a hit in Canada, it was a hit internationally. Top 5 in the UK, across Europe and into Australia. Our music was everywhere. Radio, TV, video, fashion, television. I was on tour across Canada, branching into the US and Europe. Our music was everywhere. Our video was everywhere.
Hello. See, last week I had a headache. This week I'm jamming. The weather's nice, so the sun came out. I got some vitamin D this morning. Did my workout. I just had a wonderful interview. If you missed the first half, I just had Councillor Martin Medeiros, who is a councillor here in Brampton, which is where, of course, MyTCNTV network is filming. And you know what? What I wanted to do is I didn't want to do the typical interview that people have with a politician. I'm very much a humanist, so I want to see the human about someone, not the politics or their views sometimes, but like, who are you? Because sometimes when you get people talking authentically about themselves, you start to see who the person is instead of what they sometimes paint themselves to be. So there was a method to my madness. So great interview. I had fun. Now we get into some more fun stuff. Now we get to get a little bit less political, but there's some cool stuff coming up. So let's talk about sex ed sit out. I don't know if anyone's heard this, but take a look at this video and we're going to go into it a little bit.
I'm very excited today to bring you an opportunity to join a global movement called Sex Ed Sit Out. Parents who say they are sick of the sexualization of their children in classrooms across the world are demanding public schools to end these practices. Joining with moms and dads across the nations, we are asking parents to pull their children out of public school on April 23rd. Let your voice be heard in our nation of Canada with respect to the sex activist curriculum that we call SOGI 123. It stands for Sexual Orientation and Gender Identification. SOGI 123 includes materials that suggest changing genders is not only heroic and good, but that anybody who disagrees is a mean bigot. See, for instance, the book Jacob's New Dress, which is being used by the Vancouver School Board and is recommended as a SOGI resource by the BCTF. But teaching boys that they can swap genders and live as girls, or that girls can live as boys, is a confusing and a very dangerous social experiment with serious potential consequences. It can and does in most instances lead to these youths medically transitioning, which typically means becoming lifelong pharmaceutical customers and in many cases eventually having so-called gender-affirming surgery. Freedom of religion is being trampled underfoot by SOGI 123 and other similar programs. The Charter of Rights in Canada tells us that we have freedom of religion and no one group is to impose their beliefs on another. Well, what is going on? By promoting gender identity politics, schools are favoring one worldview over another. We do not want our children indoctrinated with an ideology.
So, SOGI. What is SOGI? SOGI is the Sex Education Sit Out. It's a grassroots actually movement to fight radical graphic taxpayer funded. So this lady, as you could hear talking, I don't know if you guys want to do this. This is a global thing that's happening right now. They want on April 23rd for parents to pull their children out of school because it looks like this sex education that we've been kind of fighting here in Toronto is kind of happening all over the place. It's in America, it's in Australia, and a lot of the moms are just like, they're fed up. They don't want to do this anymore. So this movement is in response to SOGI 123, which we're going to go through, an alternative curriculum currently used in British Columbia and Alberta. So let's break this down a little bit. I do have something so you guys could have it in front of you. Gender, self, and society. So what is self? What exactly are we looking at when we're talking about self? And this is going to be very important, which is why I'm making sure you understand why a lot of these mothers are saying this sex ed education program is not helpful. So psychologists believe that a person's core identity or sense of self is based on three major components: gender identity, sexual orientation, and gender expression. Okay, so now we're going to understand a little bit more what SOGI is. Now that we understand the self, okay, and why some mothers would be having a problem with this, let's take a look at what SOGI is. So SOGI stands for Sexual Orientation and Gender Identity. Since we all have a sexual orientation and a gender identity, it includes all of us. Every student understands and expresses their gender differently, with interests and choices that are common or less common for their biological sex. Some students may be unsure of their sexual orientation. Others may identify specifically as lesbian, gay, straight, bisexual, transgendered, queer, two-spirit, cisgender, or other. I didn't know about a few of those. I don't know what cisgender is. I'm going to have to look that one up. A SOGI-inclusive school means all of these experiences and identities are embraced and never cause for discrimination. Okay, so that in a nutshell is SOGI. SOGI 123 helps educators make schools inclusive and safe for students of all sexual orientations and gender identities. At a SOGI inclusive school, students' biological sex does not limit their interests and opportunities, and their sexual orientation and how they understand and express their gender are welcomed without discrimination. So what are their 3 steps they mention? Policies and procedures. Policy and procedures that explicitly reference SOGI have been proven to reduce discrimination, suicide ideation, and suicide attempts for all students. So they're saying that since they've introduced this, a lot of the young people who may have been struggling with their identity and their sexuality, there is a high suicide rate amongst that community. And they said ever since they introduced it, it's brought down that suicide level, which, you know what, when it comes to the mental health aspect, is pretty good. Let's see what else they're saying. Inclusive environments. Inclusive learning environments include SOGI and LGBTQ and signage word choices, as well as they have extracurricular opportunities which create a positive and welcoming space for all students, okay? And the third part of SOGI is inclusive curriculum. So they have the policies and procedures, they have the environments that embrace members of the LGBTQ community, and inclusive curriculum. So this is the part that I think a lot of parents are a little bit upset about, more so than anything else. Lesson plans that teach diversity and respect and include examples of SOGI topics and LGBTQ and community members allow learning to reflect the SOGI diversity in students' lives and societies. So what I did know is that they had, there's a video, I didn't bother showing it. I didn't want to, because I don't want to, again, this is a news show, and I want to make sure that I'm being as objective as possible. So what I did is I took a look at the idea of this program and why some of the parents would have been upset about it. And I also look at it from their point of view of embracing some of these people who are having problems, just dealing with their sexual identity and how they're being raised as I guess what people would consider different. Because remember, for them, they're different, and people want them to be different. So they're trying to make it inclusive. I get both sides. But I guess one of the problems that the parents were having is the fact that they're introducing this to the children a little bit too young, right? And they feel like doing that in a way, like the lady said, is almost like a disservice to the children. It's not giving them that it's not giving them that option to think of anything else. It's kind of being put in their face, and the mothers are not liking that. They're saying, listen, if their children do turn out to be lesbian, gay, or bisexual, that's fine, but we don't think we should be having it pushed in our children's face all the time. So what do? This is what they've gone ahead and done. They've had a sex ed sit out, which is happening April 23rd. And the picture I have is compliments of sexedsitout.com. What is Sex Ed Sit Out? It's a grassroots movement of frustrated public school parents turning their frustration into action. These parents want to end the sexualization of their children during class time. To achieve that purpose, they are holding a Sex Ed Sit Out protest on Monday, April 23rd, 2018. This protest was initiated by a few moms on social media who were troubled by the graphic nature of current sex education resources in schools. It has since grown into a global movement with protests being planned in the US, Canada, and Australia. So why? Why Sex Ed Sit Out? Okay, so the sit out strategy is our way to make your voice heard. When the parents of our nations unite to exercise their rights, those in power will hear. We will not accept pornographic material in sex ed. We will not stand by and let activists skew education. We will not let our tax dollars be spent this way. We will not let our kids be helplessly sexualized in their classrooms. So, of course, with all this information that was found, they have joined the hashtag SexEdSitOut movement. And we are sick, they said, of the sexualization of our children that takes place every day in the classrooms across our nation. We will pull our kids out of the public school on Monday, April 23rd, in protest of graphic, gender-bending sex education. Sign up to add your location, and of course, you can learn more when you go to sexedsitout.com. So here's some thoughts for you. Do you think, and please, again, if you see this video and you like it, to get the word out there, please like the video, share, and of course subscribe if you want to hear more about this. But do you think educators are in a position where they should be the ones to explain to their students sensitive topics such as gender reassignment? Is it up to parents to provide their children with that understanding? Should they be shielded from topics like this altogether? And I have a question for you, everybody. Parents, are you willing to have that unbiased discussion with your children? Really sit down there and talk to them, because parents are saying, oh, we don't want you talking to our children about sex, but then you're not talking to your children about sex. And I'll be telling you very honestly, they're going to find out somewhere. So who do you want to have control over that? As a parent, it's up to you. So you've got to question yourself honestly. Are you willing to have that conversation with your child? When we come back, we'll be telling you about some community events that are coming up in Toronto on In the Now.
No one wants to live outside the box. We play it safe. But if you had told me all those years ago that I'd go on to win Juno Awards and Much Music Awards, I would have laughed.
All right, stay with me. Here we go. Hands up! Reach for the sky. Come on! And hold your head up high for tonight. And every night you're what? Yes!
To be distinct, you must be different. So I'm going to tell you this. Love Inc.'s Your Superstar went on to explode onto the Canadian dance scene. It not only was a hit in Canada, it was a hit internationally. Top 5 in the UK, across Europe and into Australia. Our music was everywhere. Radio, TV, video, fashion, television. I was on tour across Canada, branching into the US and Europe. Our music was everywhere. Our video was everywhere.
Welcome back, everyone. You guys caught me like mid. There's like, you know when you get something like on your lip and it just got, anyhow, you guys caught me. And welcome back to In the Now. If you're just joining me and catching me play with something on my lip. Before all of that, we had one of our counselors, Councillor Martin Medeiros, here, and it was an awesome conversation. And then we started talking about some other political things that are happening globally, and one of them is the sex education movement. The ones that some parents in Australia, Canada, and the US have decided they're going to do a sex ed sit-out. So you can go back to last episode again, and you can take a look at that to see what we were talking about. So I figured I would give you guys some community events that are coming up that are huge in Toronto, and some that are a little bit interesting. So I again want to thank the community. I have to start by saying this, for your diligence and sending me information every week. Now, like, you know what? Honestly, like, for me, all I have to do now is turn on my phone, and I have a million people who have sent me stuff. Not a million, I'm being extra. But like at least 6 to 7 people, which is great, who send me information that I can utilize. And I love it because I'm getting it from different sources. So the story I'm going to talk to you about today, or the community event, was given to me by an esteemed acquaintance of mine. His name is Donald R. Office, and he is a practicing coach, facilitator, consultant, writer, trainer, and lecturer with over 30 years experience in the workplace, in the classroom. So he told me about an event that was coming up. And of course, because I teach on Mondays, I can't go. But I figured, you know what, let me share this with you guys, because this is actually very powerful. The young lady who's coming here, her name is Dr. Dambisa Moyo, and this picture is courtesy of The Common Good. Dr. Dambisa Moyo is a prize-winning economist, the author of New York Times bestseller, Take All and Deed Aid. She was named one of the 100 most influential people in the world by Time magazine. Moyo is a regular contributor to the Wall Street Journal and The Financial. So when is she coming? Let me give you some info. Monday, April 23rd, so this week Monday, 2018, from 2:15 to 2:59 p.m. is the check-in. There's an actual, to get your tickets, there's an Eventbrite page. You can actually just put in the words Edge of Chaos, Why Democracy is Failing to Deliver Economic Growth and How to Fix It. Or just put in Edge of Chaos and it should come up, okay? So 3 o'clock p.m. sharp till 4 is going to be her presentation. And then her book talk is from 4 till 4:10, and she's also having a sale. Tickets are $36.50 plus obviously taxes, per person, including one hardcover copy of Edge of Chaos. So that's not too bad. So you get a book with this too. And this is going to be at DeSoto's Hall, second floor, the South Building, Rotman School of Management at the University of Toronto, 105 St. George Street. Wow. And that's, of course, in Toronto. So to get some ideas about what she's going to be presenting, I'm going to read what was said about her book, The Edge of Chaos. So, from an internationally acclaimed economist, a provocative call to jumpstart economic growth by aggressively overhauling liberal democracy. Around the world, people who are not angry at stagnant wages and growing inequality have rebelled against established governments. Sorry, not who are not, but who are angry, have rebelled against established governments and turned to political extremes. Liberal democracy, history's greatest engine of growth, now struggles to overcome unprecedented economic headwinds. From aging populations to scarce resources to unsustainable debt burdens, hobbled by short-term thinking and ideological dogma, democracies risk falling prey to nationalism and protectionism that will deliver declining living standards. All of that is what she's saying. This economy is not built for you people. So if not for you, then for who? That's why you got to go down and hear her out. So the conference or her talk, it's going to be talking about her book, Edge of Chaos, Why Democracy is Failing to Deliver Economic Growth and How to Fix It. I think it'd be pretty good. I would love to go. That would have been cool. I would have had something to talk about. But I don't, and I can't, so you guys go, okay? All right, so our last community event is the Harry Jerome Awards, and this picture is compliments of the BBPA. And actually, today on the show after Real Talk with Alyssa, she has one of the award winners. I'm not going to say who it is. I'm going to go through a list of award winners, but I'm not going to tell you guys who's going to be on her show. So you're going to have to hang around. Her show starts right at 1 o'clock, right after me. So on April 28th, we will be honoring Black Excellence in Canada. It's presented by the Black Business and Professional Association and titled sponsor TD Bank. The 36th annual Harry Jerome Awards celebrates 16 outstanding Canadians who are leaving their legacy in the world. They're inviting you to come. They're inviting you to come if you can. Some of the honorees, let's hear some of them. Pamela Applett, and she's getting a Lifetime Achievement Award. Nadia Hamilton is winning the Youth Entrepreneur Award. Dr. Kwame McKenzie is winning the Trailblazers Award. Dr. Yaboom Gilpin Jackson is winning the Professional Excellence Award. Lamont Wiltshire and Odine, this is a tough one. It looks like Ecclesiastes, but it's not. Eccleston, I did it. And that's the Business Award. Jenny Gums, she's winning the Public Advocacy Award. Julie Black, our girl Julie Black, she's winning the Entertainment Award. Kind Cross is winning an Academic Award. Mike York is winning the Diversity Award. Pauline Christian, another family member of MyTCNTV network, she's winning the President's Award. Rowan Barrett Jr. is winning the Athletics Award. Keith Mirth is winning the Community Service Award. Matt Galloway, Media Award. Luke Welch, the Arts Award. Flodine Charles Friedel is winning the Health Science Award. Tickets for this can be found on Eventbrite. I'm sure it's going to be a wonderful event. I'm going to be there. I'm so excited. It's my first Harry Jerome Awards. Oh my God. I have to get a dress. Anyhow, you guys have a wonderful Friday. Thank you so much for joining us on In the Now. Please stay, hang around. We have Miss Alyssa here. And again, like I told you, she's going to have one of the winners of the awards here. And before I go, do not forget May 6th, everybody, the Business Social. May 6th. You have to listen. I've only started to really connect some of the speakers who are the people are on my panel. I'm just talking about my panel, because I can't talk about the other panel because I'm not, But even with them, like some of these speakers, you have to wonder sometimes where and how people got to where they got. It was not like something that happened overnight, like we said with the counselor. It doesn't come like that. And some of these people have had to go through some struggles to get to where they are. And sometimes they're still dealing with struggles internally and externally. And you never know when you're going to get that message that might hit you. You know, that thing that motivates you, you never know when that's going to happen. So I definitely encourage you. This is going to be an experience for you where you will have a chance to be in a room of 10 successful people who are more than willing to sit down and talk to you, and you can sit down and listen to the discussion, and you can take notes and take what you can to help yourself grow and help yourself build and become a better person. It takes a lot of work, guys, and you need the support. Believe me when I tell you, everything I've gone through to get to this point, I'm also on the panel. I'm going to be able to share some of my story with you guys. It hasn't been easy. Believe me, it's possible. Believe me when I say it's possible. But again, I'm just, hoping you guys will come. I like to just see people. You guys can give me your news for In the Now right on the spot. Anyhow, guys, have a wonderful Friday. We will see you next week on In the Now.